everyone, may peace be on you all, and welcome to another episode of I'm a Muslim and That's Okay. And I am back with another The Whole Muslim segment, and I have with me Aisha Saleh. If I got your name right.
I say Aisha Saleh, yeah. But you're close. You're so close.
Yeah. And again, this is about pronunciation, and I'm like this is just it's just bad. But how are you, Aisha?
Alhamdulillah, how about you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. And Aisha you're in customer service, and that's why I have you here. Isn't that right, Aisha?
Here to serve.
Of course, that's what it is. It's representation everywhere. Just because you can't see the hijab doesn't mean that it's not there. No, but seriously, I discovered Aisha on TikTok, as always. As I've mentioned before, there's a whole lot of TikTok scrolling going on. But when I came across some of Aisha's videos, the first thing that stands out, not just that there's another Muslim on TikTok, you were doing cosplay, but for when people think of cosplay, they usually think of, it's a character that already exists. It's either like Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the wonderful thing about your cosplay is that it is hijab-friendly cosplay of fantasy characters that don't actually exist.
Yeah.
That is so fantastic, Aisha.
Thank you so much.
And I mean, that's one of those things that when you go into your TikTok videos, you start with your intro, another hijab-friendly cosplay tutorial, and you tell the story and you transform with that. I think that is so cool. But before we get into that, I mean, I'll give just a brief intro about you. You are, that's the thing. You're not just you that is into cosplay and the nerddom. Your entire family is into this. That's what you wrote in your bio. And you've studied film and media from the University of California. And, that's like your entire family is heavily invested in Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and the MCU, like the entire franchise. I mean, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And that's where I imagine this started out from. But please tell my audience, how did you get into this? How did you get into fantasy cosplaying on TikTok?
No, 100%. It's definitely it's stemming from my childhood. The first cosplay I ever saw in person was my sister, who is an extraordinary painter, mashallah.
Oh, mashallah.
She decided to paint her face as Darth Maul. She got the markings down perfectly, and then she got a cloak, and then she got the lightsaber, and she was just walking around the house willy-nilly, just engaging in lightsaber fights with us. And I thought it was the literal coolest thing that I had ever seen. I don't know if I'd be able to get her to admit it now, because all of a sudden she's more of a family-oriented woman who's raising 3 daughters and will not admit for the life of her that she was drop dead obsessed.
Photos are evidence, Aisha. Photos are evidence.
But yeah, absolutely. I don't know a single person in my family who doesn't get crazy obsessed over specific fantasies. Lord of the Rings was a universal one in my family. Star Wars was just an insane obsession. We would have chess sets and Monopoly games that were Star Wars themed. When Pirates of the Caribbean came out, my sisters insisted on seeing that movie at least 8 times in theaters because it was such a revolution to just be immersed into how cool of a world that was. But obviously, seeing all of that passion that it ignited in my family and not seeing any representation that my family could specifically connect to meant that there was an empty space that wasn't there. And I didn't think much of it until I really did need to decide what I was going to study in college. And I was now that I actually think about it, and I know exactly what I want to do. And I did. I went through with it. College is its own its own challenge.
Of course.
that's a whole other conversation of whether or not that education was necessary, or just how kind of bizarre the system is, or how helpful it is. And of course, in the end of the day, you know, we're talking about an industry that's run on nepotism, and I don't actually have any connections to the industry. So I found myself graduated with a degree that I was passionate about, but with absolutely no means to create a pathway into it. Yes,
that's right. Because that, and again, it stems from so much lack of representation.
Yeah,
like seeing brown people even now, it's not as big of a rarity, but still
it's jarring,
a rarity.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's Mindy Kaling. But that's the thing, she was the first biggest star, brown star, that is still literally everywhere. But the thing is, where are all the hijabis sort of situation? Are those who are physically appearing as Muslim?
Yeah, it's so interesting to me because there was an eventual shift in media where the presence of the hijab wasn't like fully rejected or fully demonized. There was a point where it was somewhat acceptable, but what they were doing was they were using it as a prop in the background. And if it was brought to the forefront of everyone's attention, the whole point of it was to eventually remove it for some dramatic white written reason that we all find gag worthy.
Exactly.
And I just think it's so interesting because we were like starved of representation, and when we actually got any sort of representation, we found that it was so wholly lacking in authenticity. And it pushed us to the point where we were just like, wow, do we want representation? Because
like this, especially,
this is crazy how bad it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if it wasn't inherently negative, it was exploitative. Like it wasn't actually like humanizing the person who happens to wear the hijab. It was simply to like almost like fill a quota. Like, look, we've got that thing in the background.
We've got one brown person. We've got one Muslim woman right there. She's there in the background.
You are represented. Don't ask for more.
Exactly.
And this is all like real world, like attempted real world dramatizations. And I found that I just got to the point where I don't even think I want that anymore. Like, I certainly don't want any like non-Muslim white written characters. I don't think that I could handle that because they just don't know how to write us. It's very clear. I think the show We Are Lady Parts was the first time that I actually saw something where it was very clear that the writer, the director, the people who were running the show were coming from that brown Muslim background. So it was the first instance where I was just like, oh my gosh, the relatability is actually like so insane. But then again, just because they're keeping it realistic, there are instances in private moments where all of the actresses at some point take off the head covering that they're wearing, which means that all of the actresses that are actually casted to portray Muslim women are not actually women who wear the hijab, which is not a must. Trust me, I do love seeing that representation of non-hijabi Muslims. I love seeing brown actresses get that kind of opportunity. It's very exciting for me. But at the end of the day, it means that no woman who actually wears the hijab actually is getting an opportunity ever.
Exactly.
Like, and it's
like I would love the role where she doesn't have to take off the hijab. Okay, like that she's being seen with the hijab on screen, off screen. There isn't like a disconnect there.
There's this comic called Yes, I'm Hot in This,
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
that. Yes.
And like something that she makes a point of doing in her comics is never removing the hijab, even
Yeah.
if the character is in such an obvious situation where
Right.
hijab would not be worn.
Right.
And that's very intentional. And I
Right.
love that. I'm obsessed with it. It's not a movie, it's not a TV show, but it's an
Right.
epic start
Right.
that gets the message.
Right. No, here's the thing. I have seen, like, not in like moving pictures, but in animation, there are instances where they do have like consistently hijabi characters, and I appreciate that for my kids. It's the first time my kids saw a hijabi character on screen was in a cartoon.
Nice.
And like that was thing that they're consistently hijabi women there, and there's no need for the hijab to come off, sort of situation. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But coming back to you, Aisha, what started, like, again, I know you wanted this on screen, but what really started, and you were inspired by your sister, but how did it start? And, you know, what was your first, I guess, fantasy cosplay, and how did it then evolve from there?
So what sparked it was one of my earlier TikTok videos where I was talking about me wanting to, establishing that I didn't believe that any authentic representation was gonna be delivered anytime soon.
Right.
And me also like expressing a desire for hijabis to exist beyond the real world. Like,
Right.
I wanted a space in fantasy, and we're still struggling to just get a space in like
reality
real life
itself.
dramas. Yeah. And I'm already like in the future, and I'm just like, man, I don't even care about like these real life dramas. I don't care about lawyer shows or comedies. I want to be in fantasies. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And I really was trying to establish an argument that it is significantly easier, significantly more possible to include women who actually wear the hijab into fantasies, because with the combination of makeup and costuming, it's so easy to seamlessly blend into the environment, a headdress of some sort, a helmet, a hood, and have them be a continuous presence without that being removed.
Right.
And that's when I went on my journey of proving that. So I started piecing together different makeup looks, and I was like, you may think that this is just a random makeup look, but here you go. Here's a story where you as the audience member can easily imagine this as a TV show that you would watch as a fan of fantasy.
Right.
And this is a look that can easily be not a background character, but an actual main character that has an effect on the plot, that has an actual character arc.
Right.
And remains completely covered the entire time. One of my first examples that I pinpointed as like an I told you so was the Mandalorian. And I know that since then, the Mandalorian has removed his helmet and has like expanded beyond always wearing it.
Right.
But for that first season, 98% of the time, he is wearing the helmet.
The thing is, in the original, he never showed his face.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm that old. I can remember the first 3 movies that came out.
No, exactly.
The Mandalorian never shows his face.
Covered head to toe. Not a single ounce of skin is shown. And when you're given the show, you are full on getting emotionally invested in someone where you don't see their face, you don't see their body, you don't see their hair, and yet you care about them. And he's full on wearing like a niqabi, like a metal burqa at this point. Like, it's not even, they're not even trying to hide it.
It must be hot in there, right?
It must be. Aren't you hot in that? How did we not get that episode fully equipped with just like all of these Star Wars characters asking the Mandalorian that? He is full on having a Muslim woman experience up in that helmet. And I was just like, y'all are chilling. Y'all on an international level have fallen in love with this man.
Right.
And I'm just like, I see it. The vision for the future is clear as day to me.
Right.
Our space, our renaissance exists in fantasy. and sci-fi. Easy.
Right.
Easy.
Right.
And I'm talking about actual hijabis.
Mm-hmm.
Hijabis that don't remove the hijab even in their personal lives.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the journey.
The thing is, and for those like that haven't seen it, and I'm putting up some like screenshots of your imagery, they can see you on this YouTube video that how like complex your work is. Like it's not just makeup. It's full on makeup, and you've got like the jewel studding and all. And you know the best part about this, I love the lens changes in your eyes. Like, oh my God, that is fantastic. You have like in some of them, you've got both eyes the same color. Some of them is one eye to one color, the other eye the other color. It is so cool.
Yeah.
And every time I watch your video, it's like, I need this story. I want this story. That's the thing that everybody who watches your videos on TikTok is like, I want the story. Or like now you have like, give me a color palette, and then you like make a transformation according to that color palette. And I think it is absolutely fantastic. I need that on screen, Aisha. You have to make it happen for me.
I think something that has been the most rewarding about this whole like TikTok journey is the amount of people that comment, I would totally watch that show, or I would totally read that book. Cause I'm just like, I know. As a fantasy nerd, I 100% understand that this would be so cool to get immersed in.
Right.
And it's just, yeah.
No, but tell me, okay, I've seen like, there's a lot of positive feedback, but there's always the other side. Have you had encounters with the other side? You have to tell me, Aisha.
For the most part, I feel like I've stayed on the positive side of TikTok.
That's great.
Every once in a while, a little comment will slip through. And it's so funny to me because it'll either be like so silly that I'll do a video response to it and everyone will be like, oh my God, it's a whole joke up in here. Or like I won't be able to post up the video response because TikTok censors it. But then people in the comment section will go off. Like they will not stand for the Islamophobia in the comment section.
That's so great.
And they'll destroy it. And I'm just like, I really do think that that's something that I've been personally blessed with, because I've heard the horror stories of everything else and all of these other experiences that are happening on TikTok. And it is really like alarming. I don't know if it's like an eventual, I'm going to get that negativity at some point. I hope not. No. But I feel like I'm on a pure side of fantasy talk where I'm just like chilling and everybody else is chilling with the creativity.
Right. But here's the thing. Now you have your platform and the work you do is amazing with that cosplay. Where do you see yourself going with this?
Honestly, I don't, at this point in time, I don't know if you were ever like keeping up with the stories that were coming out of the industry of like people talking about the actual horror nightmares that it is to work in the industry, like the amount of lack of care that a lot of the crew members have to face, like the ridiculous hours, the fact that they really don't have any rights that are being upheld. When those stories came out, I felt like I started having to rethink that dream of working in TV or film, because I'm very uncomfortable with working in an industry that doesn't prioritize the well-being of the people that are putting together this giant work of art, this production. So I don't know if my future lies there. But I do want a future in storytelling. And so I'm currently just focused on either making these makeup videos or writing, because I don't even know, like, even if you get onto like author talk or just like publishing TikTok, you'll start even learning about the toxicity in that industry. And I think if I focus too much on that, then I'll get really disheartened in learning that in every avenue that we want to be creative, we're going to be up against white supremacy, and we're going to be up against a battle for our own voice.
Right.
But if I just focus on my own self and my own craft, I really think that I can accomplish things with writing and with makeup that will eventually build my future.
And I do see that, Aisha, because that's the thing. There was a time when big production companies were it. You could not make anything other than through them. But it's a different time now. That
true.
Lots of independent workers, artists, all different manners of creative forces can work independently now and still gain the I guess following that is needed. I mean, evidence is with through your TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 10 years ago, nobody would have
there's no way.
imagined that social media could create megastars the way that they do.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of those like great avenues that you can build upon. And I for one, I'm literally waiting for the day where I can read that story and see that story on some form of visual media. I need it. My kids need it. That's the thing. When Miss Marvel, the series, came out on TV, their minds were blown because they'd never seen an entire Muslim family like the way that they are.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah. And Miss Marvel.
That's the thing that my family really appreciated it because they could see themselves. That was a fantastic story. It was a fun story to follow. Okay. Like, we loved it. It was so good. Like all the Muslims are tears of joy.
When I tell you, that show took me for a whole emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like I really, the way what started off initially, I thought we were being given like a cute Disney Channel style coming of age superhero story, and I was comfortable in that coziness. Like I was really just like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But then we're given episode 5.
Yeah.
Not
so
the
many emotions, and I was like, oh my god.
The emotional trauma of just like that flashback and the connecting of the generations between the magic and the generational trauma that was starting to be healed, and these 3 women all representing a different generation having this conversation where they're apologizing for what they did wrong and humanizing themselves to say, yes, I made a mistake, but it was me being a product of the world that I grew up in. And it was just so unexpected, just the giant leap that show took from being cute to being magnificent that just shattered my world. And I was, oh god, Miss Marvel.
And that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but I need a season 2 for that. For my kids. Like, if Disney can do that for us, like, I need that. Like, just give me some closure somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Aisha, for being with us. But everybody needs to see you and what you do. So please tell us where they can find you on social media, on TikTok, where you create your magic and where you tell your stories. They need to see you and they need to hear your fantastic stories.
Absolutely. You will find me both on TikTok and on Instagram at No Silence. The L is the number 1 because actual No Silence was taken previously.
They'll see it on the screen so they know where to find you, and I'll put your links in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Aisha. And again, what you do is fantastic because, like I told you before, it's not just about the big people who are, heroes and who are like doing, like, I guess, things for humanity. Us nerds need some representation as well. We are people who are full of magic and we're not sure what to do with the magic. But you express it so well, and I appreciate you so much for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No, I'm like, again, this is my dream come true. Thank you so much to everyone who's listened in, who has watched us on YouTube. Y'all take care of yourself, and may peace be on you all.